Yeah, it's all good. We can do that.
David Goggins just texted me like a week ago. Stay hard, motherfucker. That was it.
Yeah.
Nice to hear from you, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to do a speaking engagement with me sometime next year?
Yeah.
I love that guy. All right, ready?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Super excited. Patrick, how many times have you been on the show with me now?
4 or 5?
4? I
Yes.
think you might be, you got to be top 5, like certainly like your buyer agency stuff,
Yes.
your buyer scripting stuff, your new agent stuff. So if you're listening and you've never met Patrick before, Patrick, just give him like 2 seconds, like backstory, who you are.
Backstory is, well, I'm, by the way, his brother. And
Yes.
so it's kind of helpful, right?
Yes.
But,
He's got the right last name.
Yeah. So, I think I started 20 years ago, with you guys, and I was, a numbnut,
Yes.
soccer player, nutritionist. And then I jumped into the family business.
Yes.
And then fast forward after 12 years of that, then I joined Tom's company, which has been fantastic.
Yeah.
But I was a master of the basic lead generation and conversion. I loved it, obsessed over it.
Yep.
Then jumping over with you in 2012. And now, so fast forward, so I've been with you for 10 years. And it's just been an absolute blast learning all of the other lead generation systems and strategies and, what's going on in the modern world online. So it's been fantastic. 2014, I jumped into real estate. I married a real estate agent. And then I helped that team. We went from, I think, probably 24 sales between Kai and Carly, maybe 30. And then we got up to 56 sales. And then we did phenomenal. I got it up to 6 sales people, except for us. And then I went back to full-time coaching and training. Carly came back in full-time into real estate sales. So I think I've been a full-time coach now since 2020.
Yes.
And that has been phenomenal. So I've been really just loving full-time coaching, building all kinds of great systems for all my clients and for the ecosystem. So it's just been a blast.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And what you didn't say, and I'll say it, humble brag for you, is there's like a waiting list to get into your schedule. You coach some of the most longest term Tom Ferry coaching clients, the Randy Orrs of the world, the Jim Bishops, these legends that just adore you because you help them make money.
Yep.
So today, the person that now has a little more context for you, they want to make money. They want to have 2024 be better than 2023. So we talked about it initially, like sort of this survival guide, but I thought it'd be interesting for you and I to unpack just in a sort of candid conversation. I'm telling everybody right now, just like I did during the pandemic, there's a couple basic rules you got to follow in a rapidly changing environment with whatever happens between NAR and what goes on there, and then the DOJ, and we're talking about ultimately dual agency and buyer agency.
Yes.
What I'm telling everybody is you got to focus on the things you can't control. And I think there's only 3 things that we can control going into 2024 and throughout the entire year. Number 1 is mental toughness. And I would call that resiliency. So we want to talk about that. I want to know what you're doing, what you're asking your clients to do. Second thing is listing attraction at scale. I know that's your sweet spot.
Yep.
Third is, how do we optimize buyer agency presentation, start to create a better message for every agent on the planet so when they're out there talking to customers, they can clearly articulate the value that they deliver, right, to the customer. So let's start with mental toughness first. Like if I said to you, Patrick, what do you do to maintain mental toughness? And I said off camera, have you ever made your wife so mad she wanted to kill you? Because in that moment, you either fold or you step into, I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I got
100%.
this. I'm going to do what I use that just as an example, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So what are some of the things you do to sort of maintain your own mental toughness in spite of what's happening in the world?
Yeah, I think if I were to tell everybody my morning routine, that would probably turn a lot of people off. So but it does start with some meditation, getting control over my mind. It starts with the basics of I focus on getting up at the same time every day.
Yeah.
I take a ton of supplements. If you guys seen Tom and I, it's just, supplements.
Even what's going on over here.
It's really just, kind of a commitment to make sure I bring my best self to the day. Really, that's what it boils down to. I want physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I just want to bring forth my best self. That's how I'm going to get the best out of myself, for my family, for my friends, for my clients. So to me, it's really about how do we optimize kind of the morning and the evening. I think the missing piece for me was making sure my evening was really good so that when I woke up, I felt great.
my favorite device. We've had it for a year. Cools you down, gets you really cold, makes you sleep better. It's bananas.
Yeah. So just on the basics, like let's take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
I come from the background of athletes, right? If you're an athlete, you have to take care of yourself so that you can go perform, then go get into the battle, then come back and recover as quickly as possible to get back into the battle and win the game and win the championship. Yeah. So I don't think a lot of agents see themselves as kind of like an Olympic athlete, right? Where they really have to have recovery, good nutrition, good mindset, lots of coaches.
Yeah.
An Olympic gold medalist probably has 6 coaches. So, we got to treat ourselves better is really number one. Number 2, just on kind of mindset and perspective to me is we've got to find the best voice out in the marketplace that can give us an empowered perspective.
Yes.
Right. And you hold that voice for the agent community. When I go into things like the economy, I never go to the clickbait stuff. I always just go to I find the smartest people out there.
Yep.
I read their books, I follow their podcast, I'm on their email newsletters because they're the ones that give me that healthy perspective to be able to powerfully move forward through the day. And so I'm really, really picky about who I will give my attention to: social media, podcasts, YouTube, books. So I'm real picky, and that's kind of something we share. We're always reading the latest book. And so if you guys aren't in a mastermind group, where you guys are sharing the best books, the best podcast, who to be following, that's a huge mistake.
Yes.
We need the best voices right now to keep us mentally in the game and to give us the best perspectives.
I think about, to plus and enhance that, Dr. Dane, who I do all kinds of nutty stuff. But again, it's a commitment to health and vitality. It's a commitment to excellence. But it was once framed for me very effectively by Dr. Dane. What he said to me was, every human being in every area of their life are sitting in only one of 3 places. And of course, when he said it to me, I was like, I think I had an IV in my arm. I'm like, tell me more. And I knew to grab my pen, which I hope you're doing. And he said, think about it in your relationship, in your health and vitality, with your friends, with your teammates, the marketing side of your business. You can take any part of it. He says you're only in one of 3 places. You're in disease. You're in wellness, which is where a lot of people get stuck, or you're in greatness. And he said, if you just thought, because I had a 45-minute IV drip, and I was like, okay, he's like, write down, with your mental toughness, where are you? Are you in a state of disease? Are you in a state of wellness? Are you in a state of greatness? And at the time, the market was really good. And I find that when the market gets good, some people, myself included, like we sometimes get a little lax with the things that bring us greatness. So I had to acknowledge that. Then he said, okay, how about with Kathy? And I was like, oh, greatness, right? Like I'm crushing right now. Like we're moving, the kids are out, like it was, we're at a different point of our life. Every area of your life, ask yourself, where do you find yourself in dis-ease? He didn't say disease, he said dis-ease. Yeah. Then he said, or wellness, when greatness, being the third one, is available. And I would just ask my listener to think about mental toughness from the standpoint of resiliency. Have I introduced you to Dr. Julie Gerner yet?
No.
Oh, for my friend listening. On Twitter, now known as X, Dr. Julie Gerner, G-U-R-N-E-R, just had our first face-to-face. She is, do you remember the show Wendy, Billions? Wendy? Does that ring a bell at all? Any Billions watchers would remember Wendy was the inside of this incredible hedge fund, right? Bobby and this incredible, make-believe show, but after a real person. She was essentially the psychologist in the office for all these crazy money makers, right?
Yes.
So, and there was it's kind of this fantastical character because she just had the answer for everything. She would just cut through people instantaneously, put them back together and get them back out on the phone making money. Like that's what she did.
Yeah.
When I first started following Dr. Julie, I'm like, this is Wendy in real life.
Yes.
So shout out to if you're listening to this, I love and appreciate you. And thank you so much for our last conversation when I was in New York. She wrote this article recently, and what it talked about was resiliency. And what she said was the very best people on the planet, what makes them unique is they've had their butts kicked. They've been punched in the face. They've lost. They've been hurt. They've been broken. and they stood back up again to fight the good fight.
Yep.
And what that gave them was perspective. So she said, people that are going through a changing market or a changing cycle, or they get fired or something that happens in their life, if they've never experienced that loss before, they lack the experience to know it's not the end of the world. But people like you and I, you know, we make our wife angry and upset. I married an Italian. That happens, right? and I have the resiliency to know I can recover from this. But the phrase that she said that I think could be the phrase of 2024 for people is, I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
Like, I got this. I know how to do it.
Right.
And there's just something about that phrase, like, I got this. And I think if we can, as an ethos, right, in our ecosystem, we can get everybody starting to say, I got this. I got this. Even if they're lying to themselves, just the act of like the physiology of I got this is so much better than like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this.
Yep.
So what like I say all that, what resonates for you? What doesn't resonate for you? How does the I got this thing, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I think you're right, because my relaxed sense during this market cycle is only because I went through the 2007, 8, 9,
10,
and helped a lot of people succeed through that period. And so as I looked at this one, I was like, this is no big deal. We'll get through this, right? And you did a phenomenal job with everybody on that. So I think you're right. I think, you know, if you're going through a challenging time the first time, I'll say this as just a recent advice. You've got to reach out and talk to other people if you're going through a challenging time for the first time, because there's so many other people who've dealt with that scenario that they can be the encourager that you may need. And, you know, we recently dealt with that and it was a game changer. When we held it inside and I kept this one problem to myself and I didn't have any outlet, any group or any support. And so, you know, the thing that I tell my clients, there's no problem that you experience today that there isn't 10,000 5-star reviews on a book right now to solve that problem.
Or a podcast or a solution.
$15, right? And that person has a podcast with hundreds of hours of content directly speaking to you. We just got to, you know, kind of open ourselves up and get ourselves out there and find great resources to support us through that. Right. So anyways, I think you're right on the mental toughness part. And for me, it's also like, all right, you know, and you've been the preacher of this. Do we know where we're headed? What's the vision? Where are you going? And, you know, there's been a lot of talks about, you know, your whys and a lot of this stuff.
What's your motive for action?
You called me in. We had a good session the other day and you're like, what are your goals? And I was just so excited to be able to report those goals just right off the top of my head. This is what I want. I want this. I want this. I want this. I want this. And I want these things for me and my family for this reason. And it wasn't some magical why. I was just clear about the basics. Where I think a lot of people are getting stopped in their goal setting this year, having that strong why, having that strong motive to act, is they're not comfortable with a reasonable generalization of the thing. So if they're like, I'm not crystal clear to the 0.10 of what my goal is, it's like, who cares?
They're like, therefore, no goals.
They get stopped on it. And it's like, we can't get stopped there, right?
No.
And, you know, a lot of people they're just not willing to tell people what the challenge is. So I'm asking a lot, tell me what you want to accomplish and why do you want to do it? And they're like, well, you know, and they get all weird. I mean, these are great clients of mine. I'm like, stop. What's the simplest thing? Do you have any debt? Should we get rid of that? How much do you got? Just the basic stuff. Do you want to pay off your home or do you want more investment properties? What do you want?
Do you have an event coming up with a child or a family member that you want to take care of financially? Something that's going to drive you.
Stuff. And I think people get lost in this kind of, you know, grandioso why, you know, sitting on the top of the hill, meditating and achieving enlightenment. No, come on, let's get real and let's just get focused on what you're trying to accomplish. And if that is more important than the challenges that you're faced with, should not make this call to an expired listing in the marketplace right now? I'm uncomfortable with that. Well, which is more important? Is the discomfort more important or is achieving that thing for you and your family more important? And let's just get simple and real about it. That's more important for you. Then go do the thing. Let's get on with it. Right.
I love it. I love it.
A little bit. Yeah. Let's jump into, I think where
I want to go there, which is attracting listings. But the way that I express this to people, and for my friend listening, it is, first, it's like mental toughness and resiliency, right? Control what you can control. But when I say attract listings, there really needs to be like a sub point. And this is what it is. Those of us that are winning right now have a bias for action. Like our natural go-to is make the phone call, send the text, shoot the video. It's action, 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 action. And what I'm sensing anytime we see a market shift, anytime I read yesterday a headline from some hedge fund that's studying everything that's happening right now in the market. And they're saying, oh, real estate agents could lose 30% of the total gross commission. Now, if the average person reads that, they're going to go, we're going to lose 30% of it. I'm like, well, okay, well, so you still got $70 billion available. Why don't we list more houses? Like, so where do you find yourself? Do you have a bias towards like, oh, I don't know, and I've never, and I struggle, and I'm kind of, or do you find yourself with a bias towards action? We want to talk about a bias towards action around listing attraction. So 100%. With that said, talk to me about you're working with somebody, they're going into 2024. What's the first step with them?
So right now I am pushing harder this year than ever before with my business planning, but the step is really the lead generation audit.
I like that.
And I am going deep with people. What does
that mean?
Yeah, what I'm discovering in a simple way is that the agent doesn't actually understand the engine of their business. Mm-hmm. I asked the top agent, hey, what are you doing to generate? Oh, I just generate referrals. Okay, let's break that down for a hot second.
Help me understand.
Yeah, so I go, all right, so let's start with your clients, and thank you for that, client repeat business. Mm-hmm. How much of it was client repeat? Because we all know that in 2021, a majority of the most successful agents, they sold their clients' house and then sold them another house, and they all made a fortune in 2021. And then sold them
and got a referral fee on the second home that they bought.
Yes. And so here we are in 2022, 2023, that number is still there. Mm-hmm. And we should talk about kind of what I would see as the bottom of the market. It's really, the 7Ds is the bottom of the market, right? But anyway, so I'm like, well, let's take a look at client repeat. Now, what percentage is actually your clients referred you? Mm-hmm. And then when we look at that, I'm like, well, it's actually a lot of repeat, not a lot of referrals. So how you defined it to me in a general way is actually not helpful to us to figure out what your upside is.
Yes.
Then I'm like, well, let's talk about your sphere, right? So what about your community, right? Between social media, people that you know and acquaintances that you have influence over, between the communities that you're involved in, kids, school, church, whatever. Tell me a little bit about that. And what percentage of the new business is coming from them? Mm-hmm. Well, now could you tell me a little about your sphere referring you business? Your good friend, the neighbor, someone that you know that introduced you to an opportunity. What's that all about? Now, well, how about this? What about the professional services, lenders, contractors, your BNI groups? I have a client who did 21 transactions from BNI this year, right? Professional services. Well, what's going on there? Then I was like, well, how many of your clients are what I would consider a VIP? What's a VIP? Mm-hmm. Shout out to Glenda Baker. 3 transactions or more.
Yes.
How many VIPs do you got? Right. Mm-hmm. And let's take a look at those. Yep. Do you treat the VIP 3 transactions or more the same way you treat someone who did 1 transaction with you and then left and has never referred you, and you treat them the exact same way? Shout out to Glenda Baker because she's the queen of this. Then in your sphere, do you have any advocates, or in the professional services? Mm-hmm. What's an advocate? Someone that is constantly sending you opportunities.
Right.
So if we just dig a little bit into the details, I can find all of your upside.
Yes.
This is where we can really grow and expand.
So I want to stop for a second, because I think about, for decades, how many A's, how many B's, how many C's, right? And in marketing, we refer to it as cohorts, right? So I've got this cohort of clients that my kids all went to the same school and I met all the parents. Right. I got this cohort of clients, it's the professional services group. I got this cohort of clients that I met at an open house. I got this cohort of clients called geographic farming. But the mega trend that I'm pushing nonstop, because it's so in the zeitgeist right now, personalization.
Yeah.
What everybody wants is make me feel special, make me feel understood, and it's got to be about me. So it's not like, hey guys, which when people do hey guys on video, I just want to punch them in the face. I'm like, because no one's like sitting with 9 people on their phone going, hey, look at this. It's like, hey, you, hey, thank you so much for watching this video. It's that personalization. It's the Zillow Zestimate on your home, not want to know what's happening in the market.
Right.
Like that subtle difference. So what I'm hearing is part of the audit is I should take my entire database and carve them into sections
Yes.
based upon like, where does this person fit into my world? Is that what am I hearing that correctly?
100%. Yes.
Interrupting my own show with a quick little announcement. If you're like me and you recognize this is the time of the year when we've got to make decisions, we got to look back at what's worked in the past and decide what we want to have happen in 2024, then yes, it is time for you to get your plan together. Now, if you're one of my coaching clients, you just go inside a Loom, you download the 2024 plan, you and your coach work on that together. If you are not one of my clients, go to tomferry.com. There's be a link below. Download a copy of the plan. Get to work on it. Use ChatGPT and other resources to answer the tough questions about the strategies you need to implement to ensure your success in 2024. So tomferry.com. Get your business plan and let's get to work. Now let's go back to the show.
And where my number one thing as a coach, right? If you're a coach of anything, I want to see you on the field, watch your tape and see where you're the most successful naturally.
Yes.
Like where do you excel out on the field?
Yeah.
And so when I'm auditing, okay, let's take a look. Are you amazing really with your client referrals, or are you amazing with repeat? Are you amazing with your sphere? Are you amazing with your professional services? Like where are you amazing? And let's honor that. Then step 2 is, where are you underperforming as a compliment? Meaning, I know you, Tom, you're amazing at these things. And looking at how your results are, where you're making all the money, it's super crystal clear to me that you could be performing so much better here.
Right.
Like, and you say this commonly, like, great geographic farmers, amazing listing agents who will avoid the expired listing in their market.
Drives me nuts.
Again, underperforming as a compliment.
Yes.
You're amazing at listing properties. You're one of the best agents in town. Here's a house that you're just ignoring it. And it's
because you have a bias. It's a bias.
I love your bias.
Expired means evil and bad and blah, blah. Instead of like, that's an abandoned seller who tried to sell, chose the wrong agent. I'm a really good agent. I got this.
Yeah.
Resiliency, go. I want to remind you, were you at Dad's event when we had Chuck Daly speak?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, so Chuck, rest in peace, right? Yeah. So Chuck Daly, who was the coach of the Detroit Pistons, right? Who was the coach of the first Dream Team with Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, that group. And I remember sitting with him at lunch that day and saying, how did you take like all of those egos, right? Like think about it. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Karl Malone, Gary Payton. They get the most extraordinary team ever assembled to go slaughter everybody in the Olympics, and they just annihilated everybody. He said it was really simple. It's the same exact thing I did with the Detroit Pistons. When we finally started to win, beyond our incredible defense, it was I asked everybody to identify their automatic shot.
Oh.
I asked them to identify their automatic shot, and I'm talking to my listener right now. If I said to you, like metaphorically, when you get the ball, where are you most comfortable to make the basket a high percentage of the time?
Yep.
And what I'm hearing you say is, as a coach, you're like, I want to examine where are you most comfortable that if I put you in that scenario over and over again, you will get the listing, you'll get the referral, you'll get the buyer sale, you'll get the deal.
Yep.
I talked to Andy C. yesterday. His is
nice.
Open houses.
Yeah.
Open houses. He said, we try and do like 700 open houses a year. Think about that, like he and his small little team. But he goes, I'm most comfortable when people are walking in and have a need. I can't find a good house for sale. Can you help me? Yep. Right? He's like, so I try and put him in that position as often as possible. Yep. Is that what we're talking about?
That's exactly it. And I think, and just, for all the Tom Ferry coaching clients, you have to do the audit of your transaction history. Yep. And then I'm asking my clients this year, I said, look, in the Illum, I can see 2023, 2022, 2021. Yeah. But I said, hey, I want to see that in a spreadsheet and I want to see it stacked ranked.
Right.
I want to see units, GCI, and sales volume over 5 years so I can just see the trend. Yeah. Hey, look at that. Hey, look how good you are at this. Yep. Then from there, we can go into the total addressable market. Then we can go look at your marketing plan. What percentage of the marketing plan did you actually do? Did you not do? Now I can see where your upside is. This is amazing. Look, you barely did anything. You made $150,000. You acquired like 7 or 10 clients, and you ignored this section. Right. Then in the audit, I'm also kind of going to that next level this year. I want all my clients to be accountable to every dollar that they spend. we're getting a 5x return.
Yeah.
And I'm also interested in how much time they spent on something.
Yes.
Right. And then, for a lot of the, the Tom Ferry community loves the next great idea. They go to the webinars, the mastermind, they go to this, they go to that. But there's a percentage of them where I'm like, you're wasting too much time kind of being out there, learning the latest thing, and you're actually not executing on the thing that you actually, my favorite Tom Ferry quote, you were smart enough to write the plan. Now be stupid enough to follow it.
Yes. I think I did that in the context, and I thank you for that. That actually makes me sound horrible.
It was great. It was awesome.
I remember the first time I said that, I was doing like an office meeting like 18 years ago, right? And I was like, if Forrest Gump was a real estate agent and they were one of my clients, and I said, Forrest, just run this play over and over and over, he would say, okay. And he would just run the play. And I go, you guys are always looking for the next shiny penny instead of acknowledging there's plays that I run that work. Yep. I need to run them over and over and over and over and over, right? Like Hector, think about like sports. You run the play until the defense stops you, right? And the same thing applies to real estate. Email works. You know what's remarkable right now? 229,538 text messages sent by 1,719 of our clients. Every 19 text messages wrong, and they're saying, hey, Patrick and Carly, I was on Zillow today, or whatever the appropriate site in Germany or, South Africa or wherever you find yourself today. But in the US, it's easy with Zillow. And we say, hey, I was there and I was looking for a property for a client. I stopped by your property. Here's what it's saying your estimated value is. I've got my opinion. You give them the photo of it. I've got my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah.
That strategy, we have tens of thousands of people following that strategy.
Yes.
And they all say, I do seminars and they walk up and they go, are you going to talk about that Zillow assessment thing today? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, dude, that works.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. To the tune of 229,538 that we've tracked in no more than about 65 days, and 11,845 appointments, 4,657 listings taken from that strategy so far. Now you might say 11,845 listing appointments, 4,600. That's it. Well, remember, we're now in a normal market.
Yeah.
Where you meet someone in the fourth quarter and they say, we'd like to put our home on the market in January, February, or March.
Exactly.
So we know that lagging number is going to hit. So I love that you're saying run plays at work.
Let me add something to that really fast. I did some research on, it's called Ahrefs. It's a SEO research tool, right? Yeah. So I did some research.
Spell it for me.
Ahrefs, Ahrefs. SEM Rush, Ahrefs,
SEM Rush is the one
keywords everywhere, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I looked up how many people searched Zillow, Zestimate into Google, Bing, wherever. Mm-hmm. And in 1 month, 44,000 times.
Yeah.
Then I looked at how many people.
And was that on a localized level or was that a national level?
National level.
Interesting.
But that was not it. What Ahrefs did. Estimate, Zillow value, blah, 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 blah. 340,000 times people searched on Google looking for more information about the value of their home.
Yes.
And people are like, well, no one's interested.
Yeah.
It's like,
my clients know their value. No, they don't.
No, it's unbelievable. Now we're going to get to the digital, my home value digital farming strategy, which is going to be amazing for everybody that did this exercise. We now have a follow-up campaign that we just need to get our heads wrapped around. But can we go back one step I want to just talk to the new agents, my young agents out there really fast.
All veterans, you can just pause and check out. I'm kidding. Do not have confirmation bias. Keep listening.
Skip over to the next chapter.
Yes,
but for my young people, new agents, I just want to say something to you guys. We have to solve what I refer to as the riddle, right? So I'm a lead gen expert. You're a lead gen expert. We've dealt with thousands and thousands of agents. We've looked at all of the buffet of the different options in, you could do Zillow, you can do this, open house, you can do door knocking, you can do calls, you can do
no wrong way to generate a client.
No wrong way to generate a lead, but then they go into the buffet and they kind of get a little bit, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Social
They
media.
get overwhelmed.
Yes, immediately. So there's that. Then there's the market, right? And what's happening in the market. So, and then I was just working with a group in LA Valley, and that very dynamic market in LA Valley versus, Des Moines, Iowa versus so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So there's different trends, different demographics. There's different things that we got to learn a little bit about the market, right? Which is a great broker, great leader, great coach can help you guys to figure that out, which is very important. But then there's you, the player. And this is where I'm trying to level up as a coach, which is, okay, what are Tom's strengths? What are your weaknesses? Go ahead and tell me what you're not willing to do, but also tell me what you're willing to do. What's your training? What's your background? Are you tech savvy? Are you not tech savvy? Tell me more about that. Were you born and raised? You went to elementary school all the way through college in the market? Or were you like me? I was a transplant into San Diego. I knew nobody. Do you have a big sphere? Do people really do you have a good brand amongst your community, or do we need to develop no brand, right? You have maybe a little, a kink in your brand.
Yeah.
So the riddle is like, okay, I've got you, the market, and then I got the options. And what the problem is we're not just looking at this and going, this makes the most sense, all in, and going deep.
Yes.
Right. And we're like, try. I hate this. Fail.
Dabble.
Yeah,
dabble.
Yeah. Oh, just
and never build anything.
No.
Never learn enough. Never fail enough. It's monkey first thinking,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Which we talked about at the summit. If you've never heard this before, one of the most brilliant mentors ever, the guy that runs basically the Google X, it's their investment wing. He once said, every time I get a new idea, I go monkey first thinking, and I'm like, what does that mean? And he said, so the goal is, if I had to take a monkey and teach it how to sing like opera while standing on a three-legged stool, what should I do first? And most people try and do the easiest thing first, so they build a three-legged stool. Well, the hardest thing is, can I teach a monkey how to sing, let alone sing opera? So he says, try and do the hardest thing first. Go after the hardest thing first, because you're going to learn so many lessons. And will you get signals that say, there's an opportunity here?
Yes.
But what happens is everyone's like, okay, I want to take on this new lead source. So what I'm going to do first is maybe select a new CRM. Then I'm going to need a new website. Then I'm going to need this. This is why every new agent, when they ask me on Instagram and like Q&A, like, what should I do? I'm like, you should call every for sale by owner. You should call every expired listing. You should circle door knock. You should invite a top agent with you on every one of those appointments, because they have a better chance of winning the listing, and you will leverage them and learn from them. But if you do the hardest things first, everything else is easier.
Yes, exactly.
Like getting a referral is easier. Doing an open house is easier. Do the hard thing first. See if you can teach the monkey how to sing opera standing on a three-legged stool, but don't worry about the stool.
Exactly.
You can buy one of those at Costco.
Yes, exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's what I'm hearing you say. Like, go deep, but figure it out and go deep with it.
Yes, 100%.
Go hard.
Yeah. And it can be hard. And, some people, I think the problem is people might go, I like the hard thing, but also like, I know now that I know what I'm really good at, and you've asked this question of all the coaches and everybody in all the audience. You said, where are you really good? Like you've asked that question. What is your brand? How do you define what your brand is? And the more I did that, then the more I steered towards the things where I knew I would be successful based upon a clear assessment of myself and looking at the evidence in the market. The feedback is what's important, right? So if you go into an open house and literally you're like, wow, that was great. I talked to 5 amazing people, and I, got one in the car and I put one under contract immediately. That is a signal from the market. Right. If you have zero discomfort with getting on the phone and having a conversation with an expired, and you could sit there patiently and just talk to 15 wrong numbers and then talk to the 2 right people and still, get a listing appointment, that is amazing.
Do it all day long.
Right. So it's like, let's in this season where we're looking at 2024, we have to be more clear about what are you really good at and go way deeper into it. For me, I'm like, what is their upside, right?
Yes.
So let's address the total addressable market, the TAM. You've really helped me to see what the TAM is. And this year, I'm like, all right, how do I determine what the TAM is on this?
Let me get in context. So if there's 143 million homes in America, 143 million homes in America, The TAM is the number of properties that will sell, not including new construction. Most are forecasting next year 4 million transactions.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's like 3% of the market essentially will put their home on the market, but you need to look at your micro market, the community, the geography that you serve. How many homes are there? How many transactions? Breaking it down by condos, single family residence, two-story, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look broadly at that market, what you're going to start to see is, I'm just making this up, 4-bedrooms don't really trade a lot, but when they do, they trade for a premium. 3-bedrooms seem to trade the most in the marketplace right now because either it's too much space or not enough space. And I'm just giving you like a hypothesis. 2-bedrooms, they trade, but they don't trade at a premium because it's not what people want, right? So they get in and out. And like when you start to see that, then you go broadly, look at my market. Now, where should I apply myself?
Yes.
Right? Like we talk about geographic farming, my old neighborhood in Irvine Terrace in Corona Del Mar. People are like, I should farm your community. And I'm like, why? You want to get the 3 sales that happen in the MLS? 15 to 18 happen off market and there's 448 properties.
Yeah.
There's no addressable market for you to, you might get the 3.
Right.
You with me? Or do you want to try and be the one that everyone just sells it to their neighbor?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's so much of how the market is just done there, right? Same thing here at Highland Park in Dallas, Texas. So what other advice do you have for people to figure out what the TAM is?
Well, this is where I think geographic farm is the first easiest place to look.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, actually, I'm very interested in, of your clients, what was the turnover rate this year?
Yeah.
Right. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Right. Then I'm looking at,
Okay, hold on. I'm going to give them an assignment that is going to make them want to throw up.
Yeah, go for it.
Why aren't we saying them? It's you. I'm talking to you. Do you know that you could take your entire database, hand it over to your title rep and say, can you show me of all the people in my database, how many transacted this year? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a company that I'm toying with investing in, and they do this for people. And the problem is the UI and the UX is horrible, but that's here nor there. If you're listening, you know who I'm talking about you. And but the idea was you basically activate it, you plug it into your CRM, it scours the entire CRM, then it scans all the tax records, and it tells you in real time what we all know, which is most agents sell 1 house and lose 4 because of bad follow-up on prospects. I'm not saying with your own database, your past clients in Sphere, but on prospects, the typical is you sold 1, but because you didn't follow up for the 115 days before the average buyer goes under contract or even longer for a seller, that you missed the opportunity. So I like the idea of them going and looking at their own database first, because it'll make them so mad when they find out that a bunch of people that they met at open houses, soccer games, whatever else, transacted and they had no idea.
Yeah. I think just seeing what their upside. So I'm telling my clients, look, I don't want to judge yesterday. All I want to do is find what your upside is. That's all I want. And I want to see the hard reality. I don't want to fantasize. I don't want you to tell me your opinion. I don't want to tell me how you feel about it. Let's just look at the facts. Even the Sphere is really the hardest one. So I did this with Patrick O'Connor out in Columbia, not in South Carolina, Lexington. And we were talking about the BNI group. So it took a little bit of effort. Let's see, can we go from 20 transactions to 40? So let's just have a conversation about the total addressable market. How many people are in the BNI group? 150. Cool. Of the 150, how many clients do you think they have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. A lot.
Thousands. Yeah.
Well, how many referrals, what's your referral conversion? Okay, cool. So I think if the turnover rate right now in the United States is, whatever it is, 3%. So if we just take that rough number and we times, by 3%, hey, Patrick, there's your total opportunity set. Now let's take a quick look at, what did you do this year? You kind of showed up and did the same script every week. Okay, that's fine. Let's improve that. Did you interview a bunch of people? Well, you interviewed 4 or 5 people on your Facebook page, and that was good. Yeah. What else did you do? Did you send anyone emails? No, we just added that this year. So, wow, Patrick, look at this. Between this number, between what we think is the opportunity, between what you're already successful, if we just add a few more things this year, what do you think your upside is in 2024? So it's like, we don't have to have exact numbers, but let's at least get some clarity around this.
It's
and
clarity,
then not
and it's
just
also,
Tom, I'm just going to be more consistent. I'm going to be really consistent with my phone calls. Okay.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Calling your mother?
Exactly.
Yeah. Call your mother.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. My mother.
Yes. Our mother.
So Patrick, I apologize. There's been so much value. It's you and I kind of bantering back and forth. I think the viewer's going to listen to this 3 or 4 times because you're saying some things, I'm saying some things. As always, there's just stuff to unpack. What I'm hearing overall though is if I want to not just survive, but I want to thrive, I got to get really clear on where my transactions are coming from.
Yep.
I got to start thinking about micro marketing plans to activate more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. The strategy around knowing the addressable market in my area. What's the turnover?
Mm-hmm.
How well do you know it? Where do you want to spend your time and energy? And then I really liked your insight on mental toughness.
Great.
Yes. I mean, I think it's doing things that you make you feel, how did you say it? I do things in the morning that give me the I need.
Yeah, I need physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually to do everything I can to support me to bring my best self to the day.
Yeah.
Right. And I got to give myself the gift of maybe some time for meditation, give myself the gift of the best supplements I can find, listen to the best podcast or audiobook for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Write the journal, the gratitude, just remind myself. These are all the gifts to myself so that I can. Right. Be the best dad, be the best husband, be the best coach, be the best real estate professional. Right.
I love it.
That's the game. Bring my best self to the day.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much. This is like the 5th time on the show.
Yes.
Always insightful. Always nice to have my brother
That's right.
on the show. And thank you so much for checking in. I can't wait to get your insight on this, like comments and all that good stuff. And then if you have someone that maybe is struggling to figure out where to put their attention, I would absolutely send them this show and just say, hey, with love, check this out. Because I know we answered a bunch of those questions today. So mental toughness, resiliency, bias towards action, and going after more listings. That's what it's all about. We'll see you on the next show.